All right. Hello. Welcome to episode 301 of Together BHA. We don't have any ridiculously powerful confetti cannons this week. Just
that was funny though. Like,
I don't think anyone expected it to like explode quite like it did.
Yeah. You've seen those ones where they have it the wrong way round and they just blast their own genitals, right? Like, just as long as that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely that would have been an interesting. Would have gone viral though. Probably got thousands of views. All right, so we have quite a lot to discuss this week, and it's all really good, which is lovely. Which makes a nice change. 2 games, 9 goals scored, 1 goal conceded. How often do you hear that about a Brighton of Albion side ever in history? Yeah. Really. I guess let's touch on the cup first. As that came first on Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Can't remember now. I went and I still can't remember. It was Tuesday. Away at Barnsley at Oakwell. There were a lot of traveling fans, a lot more than I thought, actually. We did a really good job of bringing, I think we brought about 1,500 in the end. And a much rotated side again, very similar to the one we saw at Oxford. Steele, of course, taking cup goalie options. Kadioglu and Veltman at fullback, Coppola and Boscagli in the middle. Baleba, Milner, Watson, Welbeck, Gomez, and Seamas were the starting 11. Lots of babies on the bench as well. Howell, McGill. We also had Costolos get on the bench as well. Tasker as well. And I mean, outside of like the first 8 minutes where they looked like they were keen to play some football, after that we just kind of ramped up the pressure to the point that it was suffocating for them by the end of the game. But what did you make of that lineup? Is that kind of what you were hoping to see? And then, I mean, let's just talk through what was essentially the Diego Gomez show for 68 minutes.
Yeah. It was the lineups as you expect, right? I think playing Gomez out on the wing, like I think we had a conversation about that as well. Like, yeah, we'll get onto him, but that was the one thing. Beforehand, I was just like, where is everyone playing? And sort of how is this even going to work? But you just think like Barnsley are doing all right in League One, but you're kind of like, okay, like the depth that this squad now has, it means that you can put out a second 11 like that. And even if Diego Gomez didn't have his own goal of the season contest in the period of 20 minutes, it was more of like, okay, let's just wear them out until 70, 75 minutes because this team is able to do that to lower opposition and then just take your chances. So it could have been difficult. Like if we didn't, like the longer we went, probably the harder it would have been. And they did have a couple of chances. They hit the woodwork a couple of times as well. So like this is quite literally a carbon copy of Oxford, where it was like, okay, we came out rampant winners in the end, but like it could have been very different if a couple of these sort of trickled in, or a couple of the mistakes that we continue to make at the back and try and just maybe overcomplicate things. But the lineup wise was, as expected. It was, the sooner we see Costolas getting more minutes as well, probably the better. But otherwise, fairly standard lineup. But otherwise, yeah, it was all Diego Gomez.
Yeah, pretty mental actually. Really, like within about 9 minutes, wasn't it? The ball broke to Tom Watson on the left, who was starting out there, and he just squared the ball in, and Diego Gomez was the on-running striker for some reason. Pops it in the back of the net, dead easy, and 10 minutes later, the ball is knocked out wide to him by Tom Watson again, where he promptly smashes it into the roof of the net, like from distance, which was just crazy. And then to top off his 33-minute hat trick, he decides to like score from about 40 yards out with another absolute screamer. It's funny because he once again just looked a little bit off the pace against Chelsea, didn't he? But then it's, I don't know, like maybe he just partied too hard after Oakwell. But it was, once that third one went in, it felt like the contest was fully over. Like, I don't know about you, but like even there, it looked like it was done.
Yeah, you got to 3 before half time and you go, right, like we could just shut up shop here and win the game. And I think that was probably would have been the smarter thing to do, probably more sensible, right? Like just close it down, couple of defensive people come on and give people some minutes, like which we did in the end as well. So, but yeah, I mean, it also shows just the chasm between who we play on a regular basis and, you know, some of this lower championship, upper echelons of League One. Like you just see the difference there, because you can look at Belabor and going through it at the moment. You can see Gomez doing like sort of being able to just completely savage these sort of lower end teams. But then as soon as you put them against any form of Premier League opposition, you just see that incredible step up. So yeah, it's nice as like a confidence booster, right? And they are banana pills at the same time, right? You can mess this up, and you could quite easily go out. I mean, look at Grimsby and Man United, right? Like it's very easy to do. So the fact that we're able to do this, give younger and maybe just sort of those people on the bench more minutes and get some confidence, as well as be able to just do the task at hand and do it quite comfortably. Like that's all that you want in those sort of early cup run rounds. And I think having those is great, but then whoever we pull the next round, obviously, is not going to be the case. So, all in all, I think it was a good game as well. How getting a goal as well was always good. Like you also forget, like sometimes I forget how young Kostulas is, just because of the money and because of how it came about, and I guess his pedigree up until this point. Like he's the same age as Harry Howe, so like you know, again, you have to adapt and sort of bed them in a little bit slower. But yeah, what were your overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with most of what you've said, to be honest. I just, it's when we look at these teams that struggle. I mean, like Chelsea, for example, our opponents this week, like they didn't exactly convincingly romp past Lincoln, did they? Like they were.
And I was looking at the other teams as well. Like nobody else was really getting trounced or sort of putting in those performances. They've all been very narrow.
Yeah, it was all. Like it's just us just popping 6 goals in every week. But yeah, I thought we were superb. That second half was the biggest example of the golfing class I've seen Brighton do to anyone ever. Like I could not believe like how eye-opening that was. It was just insane. I just couldn't imagine trying to play against that and like keep us out. Like it was just stifling. Like they couldn't do anything. I know once we got our 5th and 6th, like in that last 10 minutes, I think they had 2 efforts off the woodwork in that last 10 minutes. And luckily at that point, even if they'd scored at 5-1, it doesn't matter.
You kind of get the jitters at that point and just shut up shop, don't you? So,
exactly. Yeah. But I just can't believe that we are. And I think the key difference between us and a lot of these teams that have started with like not such convincing victories, except for Manchester United, who are just an absolute basket case, right? Like they almost just are on their own, so far away from everything else. It's impossible to even bring them into the conversation.
Oh my God.
But I think the key thing is that we're starting Coppola and Boscaglia as our centre halves. And truth be told, like I would not be shocked at all if that's our starting centre half duo next year.
No.
Because Dunk being older, Van Hecker leaving, like it would not shock me at all if that's our starting duo in 12 months' time.
It's
so
almost like a trial run for next year.
Yeah, so to have them both starting now, like in cup games against people like Barnsley and Oxford, like there are definitely some jitters there, like as you say, with Oxford and Barnsley, and that's a whole new backline playing together for the first time and the second time.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't envy those teams having to go against us, and that's probably where we're winning these games by a lot, because they just have no way through against. Like if I'm a League One striker, I'm not keen on getting into an aerial battle with Diego Coppola. Like the guy is so massive for like his age and stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, I thought it was really good. It was great to go up there, and it felt like just the old days. Like it felt like when we were.
Yeah, I miss those stadiums. Like I really do. I think I obviously I haven't been in a while now, but like I remember going to like Barnet, Leyton Orient, like even Brentford's old stadium was so good to go as an away fan. Like just terraced, like wooden seats, all of that sort of stuff. Like it's nice to experience that once in a while.
Yeah, it felt weird going to Goodison because they obviously had all the wooden seats and stuff. It felt like a strange thing going there. So I think before that, like the last time I'd gone to one with wooden seats was Chesterfield, or like the old Doncaster ground. So like, it was super weird that Goodison had it for so long, because they're a Premier League team and have been since forever, I think. Massive win, though. Great for the team. Great for the confidence of a lot of these players. 90 minutes is massive for players like Coppola, like Boscagli, like Tommy Watson, who was superb. 3 assists on Tuesday, which is a hell of an introduction, and then doesn't even make the bench against Chelsea. I can only assume he was absolutely knackered, by the way, because he looked so tired at the end of that game. But what do you make of the draw? Arsenal away next. After all our hard work putting 6 past Oxford and Barnsley, we have one of the favourites to win the entire thing at their place. What would you like to see? Would you like to see Boscagli and Coppola rolled out like much the same sort of side? Or would you want to see essentially our first, like, to treat it like a Premier League game?
It's a really good question. Like half of you is saying they're the guys that got you there, so they deserve to play, right? And you go, right, that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick to our principles. Like that's our cup team. Like, and then the other side of me goes, if you get past Arsenal, you could get pretty far here and just try and get there, because obviously, knocking out one of the favorite teams is obviously perfect. So I don't know. I think you're going to see probably a bit of both, right? In that you're going to see. I still think you keep the centre-back pairing. I think you probably change out your fullbacks, which is not a good idea, but I think it will happen anyway.
It's a superb test, though, isn't it, for Boscagli and Coppola? Like, that's kind of exactly what you want to give these guys at this point. Which is perfect. Throw them to Arsenal away, like, because they're not going to be playing their full-strength Arsenal team either.
No, unless they really mess it up in 45 minutes, and essentially, the cup suddenly becomes their priority in a couple of games. Do you know what I mean? Like things change pretty fast. And I think you probably will just see the same team, and you go, right, it's your responsibility to get this here. Like if we're expecting Arsenal to be sort of less or not as strong either, then we've still got a chance. And like our record isn't too bad going there, right? I think we've had like a couple of wins there, like even in the FA Cup as well, like a few years ago. So like there's a few things there that ultimately point towards us potentially getting something. And also, if you've won the last 2 rounds 6-0 and you go and change the team around completely, then I think you're going to annoy about 18 people. So,
yeah, I agree. And I mean, we've got some pretty talented players in that starting 11 too, right? Like we're starting Carlos Baleba still, we're starting Kadioglu, we're starting Joel Veltman. Like, I would imagine that you would, if Kadioglu cements this left back spot, you assume De Kuyper would go straight in there. And I mean, you're probably then looking at a back 5 of Steele, De Kuyper, Boscagli, Coppola, and Weaver.
That's fine. It's great.
I mean, that's like a team back 5 that you would be comfortable as a bottom 6 Premier League team rolling out to survive, right? Like comfortably.
Easily. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
if you rolled out like the next Premier League game next week with that 5, you'd be like, that's weird, but okay. Like I understand. So
absolutely. All right. So obviously, great start to the week, and we then moved on to our second away game of the week, Chelsea. Obviously, this was the scene of what possibly felt like a war crime in football last year, where Fabian Hertzler decided to like out-Ange with some of the most insane gung-ho tactics I've seen from the Albion ever. And obviously we got beat despite Sanchez trying to help us with the scoreline that day. But rather unsurprisingly, most of the Chelsea squad was consisting of Albion exiles. Pedro started up top, Caicedo in the middle, Cucurella and Sanchez at the back as well. Obviously, no Levi Colwill. He's out with an ACL, so he obviously just didn't figure it all. But pretty much all of the boys that they've signed from us starting and kind of forming their spine as well throughout their team. What did you make of the change side for the Albion? It was pretty much back to the standard Albion 11 for the Premier League. Veltman in at right back, Kadioglu keeping his place at left back, and then Ayari, Baleba, Mitoma, Minte, Ruta, and then Gomez getting a start, understandably, after midweek, and Welbeck on the bench. But the bench in general, Welbeck Weaver,
Strong.
Seamas, Gruder, De Kuyper, Buscagli, Coppola, Milner, and Steele. Yes, very
That's
strong indeed.
ridiculous. Yeah. I think it's a decent lineup. I think that's probably as expected. I think De Kuyper getting a rest and stuff is like, again, like he obviously started straight away and came straight in. He was like the only signing that just started straight away and sort of went in. But Kadioglu's doing all right, so I was happy with it, and I thought, yeah, that'll be fine. But yeah, I think there wasn't really too much else. I think there's obviously you're concerned about the Belabor sort of performances at the moment. I think that probably continued yesterday, just with a couple of the lackadaisical, maybe is the right word, but I think he's just being complacent a little bit. But otherwise, it was just the team that you wanted to be out there, right? I wanted Reuter out there instead of Welbeck, right? And I think he offers more than just being a target man, which is ironically not what we needed. But I thought it was again the lineup that you would put out, right? Like if you went name the 11 that you want to be out there, it would probably be that, barring a couple of swaps. But what about yourself?
Yeah, no, likewise. I don't have any complaints about what it looked like, but I totally agree with you, Belabor. I'm trying to just keep telling myself that he hasn't had a preseason like at all. Like he got injured really early on, didn't he? He didn't play in almost any of our games. And this is all just for him to come back, along with the mental struggles he's having with the I think it's the pressure he now feeling like he's £100 million player. Like,
yeah,
it's a scary thing.
He's still young, right? Like I think that's the thing, and like I don't envy anyone in that position, right? Just being able to, like, especially in this day and age with the social media presence and everything that everyone has, right? It's sort of like if everyone's talking about you, it's so hard to ignore, especially as a young man.
And I mean, you also look at like where he's from as well, right? Because like these African teams, like he can be kind of one of the faces for them, like back home. So like I can only imagine the pressure he's getting back home too, of like, make a decision. What are you going to do? Like our nation's like success hinges on what you just like. Horrible. Like there's a lot of pressure there for him. I'm trying to give him as much grace as possible, but it's also scary watching him start and play 67 minutes and just look miles off it for half of that. But it didn't really matter too much in the first half because we were absolutely appalling. Chelsea had 9 shots, 2 of those on target. We had 3 with nothing on target. There's 70% possession. It almost was just carrying on where we left off against Spurs, wherein it seems that we were content to play incredibly backs to the wall and spring on the counter-attack. The only issue is that we didn't look very dangerous at all spring in the counter-attack compared to last week, right, where we cut through Spurs quite comfortably at will. And cutting through a Thomas Frank Spurs is a lot different to an Ange one. So it felt like a good achievement.
Yeah.
But this Chelsea team, we just looked toothless compared to last week. And going in at the break 1-0 down, and because I don't want to spend too much time on it, because it was depressing, and the second half's way better to talk about. But like going in at 1-0 down at half time, it almost felt like well, do you know what? Like, fine. Like, if this is the mentality we have, let's just keep going and lose 2-0 and go away with like as little goal difference hurting as possible.
Yeah.
That's how it felt for me.
Yeah. I was probably irrationally annoyed at how bad we were in the first half. Because like part of you do, there is this animosity between Chelsea and Brighton, right? You completely get that. I understand it. But like, it was more around just, I had no idea what we were trying to do either. Right. So, and this is my opinion. It's nobody else's. I was just watching it, just getting irrationally angry about some of the decision making that you make. And it was just like, I have no idea. And to your point, right, it was like, if your idea is to counterattack, at least actually counterattack. Because it felt like you were trying. It was like, okay, we'll wait for our moment and then we'll go for it at half speed. And then just nothing works. And you're like, yeah, of course it didn't work. Because unfortunately, you do have Reece James and Cucurella on either side who are quicker than most fullbacks, And it's sort of, if you're going to rely on your pace, we'll come on to Minte because I thought he was excellent anyway. But like, you have to be really good. You have to be really fast, and you have to be able to square your man up 1-to-1 in order to do that. In counter-attacking situations, you didn't typically have that. They were very good at having two men either side to try and nullify Minte and Matoma. And they did nullify Matoma, right? And I think that's also a talking point, maybe for later. But it was just some of the decision making that we were doing, and just I was like, I have no idea what we're trying to achieve, and that's the most frustrating thing for me. So like, you kind of got to half time, and I was a similar point to you. I was like, I have no idea. Like, if this is what we're going to do, then we should just leave now, because like, you could play this game for 3-4 hours and nothing will change. So thankfully in the second half something did change, but yeah, I sort of at half time I was kind of, I guess, just accepting of it, and I was like, okay, like it is what it is. But yeah, the second half turned about to be a lot nicer to us. Starting with the red card almost immediately.
Yeah, it really did. And let's just touch on that. Like, you weren't really sure what they were trying to do as a team, because the concerning part is Mitoma agrees with you. Talking to the Japanese media, he said he couldn't receive the ball enough times and get involved in the game. Looking back now, I feel like I really don't understand what we were trying to do. It's not something you want to hear from one of your best players possibly to ever wear an Albion shirt, is it?
I think that's even under contention. Yeah. Your starting left winger, who is one of your most dangerous threats and has been for the last 4 years, suddenly turns around and says, I don't know what we're doing. Like, I think that's not ideal. But I mean, I agree with him, obviously. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think to give Chelsea that credit, you can't.
Yeah.
And we've said this before for years when he was with us, but you can't counterattack against Moises Caicedo.
No.
That was the big thing yesterday.
He's so good.
There's no counterattack to be had because he stifles you in the middle, and that's just what a world-class player does, right? Like, he's one of the best central defensive midfielders on the planet, and we were lucky enough to be the ones that developed him into that, and we got to experience that for well over a year, and he's now, after the slow start, fully back in his groove. And for me, I look at the Spurs game and I look at this one and I think, like, well, where was the difference? And every bit of highlight I see, it's Caicedo. He's there somewhere in the mix, causing someone to essentially be totally taken out of the game because he's just covered them. Thankfully for us, Trevor Chalobah decided that he was going to just nuke the Chelsea tactics on 50 minutes. A really loose pass from Santos allowed Mitoma to really pounce on the counter-attack, and he did a real, like, injection of speed to catch up and poke the ball away into Gomez's path. And Chalobah, who was second to the ball, just inexplicably, just not only did he throw a leg out and kind of get himself tangled up, he threw his arms out too. It was impossible to defend him from a VAR perspective, even if you wanted to, even if they were all Chelsea fans in the booth. Like, you look at it. I haven't heard a single Chelsea fan say it wasn't a red yesterday. Yeah. And it's rare when someone makes that stupid decision to get themselves sent off, and even every single one of your own fans is just like, you idiot. Like, that's a red. Yeah. And at 10 men, we have 40 minutes. And for me, I'm like, all right, what is this? What are we going to do here? Because what we've just done for 50 minutes is just dismal. So are we, like, how do we turn this around? Like, do we take advantage of this? What are we going to roll out here? And I mean, what followed from there was just a total breakdown from the Chelsea team, wasn't it? Weaver comes on for Veltman. Really smart sub, by the way, I thought. Veltman on a yellow card. The referee's performance yesterday we'll talk about, but the way he was just Hertzler or the team was just like, nah, don't let him even the odds here. Don't let Veltman get a silly second yellow that isn't a yellow, because I don't think the first one was.
No, of course it wasn't. It wasn't even a foul.
No, it wasn't. And I thought that was one of the, I mean, just the start of what was once again Fabian and Herzl are making game-changing substitutions.
Yeah, really smart. I think that's sort of just reading the game and going, okay, like this ref is abysmal. Like, and I think that's just the bar nowadays. But yeah, you're right. Just making sure that you don't even give them the opportunity to make that decision. Which is really good reading. You just go, okay, immediately, like, and you start to see Herzler making those changes that other people and fans see, and you go, okay, yeah, that was really smart. And you're right that he's starting. I say starting, like, I think he always has had a good track record in making those changes when it comes to personnel, right? I think tactically, I think the jury is still out even after like a year and a bit. But like when it comes to making personnel changes, like it nearly works every time. And it's sort of just getting it right that consistently is no longer luck. That is something that he is good at doing and is able to read the game and go, here's what we need and here's who's going to deliver it for us. So having that sort of tactical nous and being able to understand what people can do in certain points, like I said, it's a trend, it's a pattern. It's no longer fortunate. Like this is something that he is good at doing. So you bring on the reinforcements, you make those changes, and before that, I was concerned that them going down to 10 men would only make it harder for us, right? And we've seen that before, where you just shut up shop. But again, just I don't know why Chelsea didn't do that. Like, and it just again, I think there's still some naivety in that Chelsea team that stops them from being as good as maybe they could be. Just because a lot of them are young and they make those mistakes, silly mistakes like Chalobah made, where you go, you're already 1-0 up, don't touch him because he could miss. And even if he scores, it's then 1-1 and we still have 11 players. Like that was a complete head loss when it comes to the worst thing he could have done in that situation. So yeah, but then you start looking at the game, you go, right, okay, it's time to us to take advantage. We've been awful for 55 minutes. What can we do?
And the game changed on a dime. Like it really did. We actually went out there and started playing football and looked like we wanted to win. We dominated possession, 60%. We started having shots. We had our first shot on target after about 70 odd minutes, but we just took over the game. And I just find it fascinating how, and James in the chat alludes to it, if only we could play Chelsea every week. For the most part, since the Potter incident, we have Chelsea's number massively, except for when we went insane last year at their place, right? Like it's crazy how often Chelsea self-sabotage themselves against us during these games. It's just unfathomable how many times they can do this. And I've never seen a team change so much with just one sending off. And I do look at that back line though, and I look at that look, and Badiashile, Trevor Chalobah, Gusto, you've got these players, and you're like, Robert Sanchez for what £750 million spent. This is your back line. I understand they have a handful of injuries, right, for bigger players, but not that many. Like if you are $750 million in the hole of building a football team to become hyper competitive at the top level, and your goalkeeping choices between Robert Sanchez and Jorgensen. Like, are you joking? And City just wander out and sign Donnarumma last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, why haven't you been doing that?
Whilst they've already had James Trafford. Yes. So Verbruggen is what Chelsea think David Sanchez is. Robert Sanchez, sorry. Like in just the ability to play the ball out the back, to be a good shot stopper, right? Like that's what they want. And I really wouldn't be surprised if Verbruggen was on their list next year. And I hate even talking it or even manifesting it and talking it out loud. But like you can clearly see what type of keeper they're after, and that's why Robert Sanchez is still there, in that they want a ball playing, amazing shot stopper, right? But the worst mistake that they made, I think personally, is that they never replaced Thiago Silva and having like a leader in that back line. Like they've gone too far down the young potential route, where they've got all of these young centre backs with none of that experience in being able to just hold off in that Chalobah red card, right? And just sort of a Thiago Silva or a Marquinhos or something would have just let that go and would have been like, fine. So that's where, and again, you sign Levi Colwill, you've got Wesley Fofana as well, like people that are perpetually injured, at least at that early in their career as well. Like, I agree with you. It's strange that they haven't been able to do that. I think the fullbacks, they're fine. You've got Gusto, Cucurella, Reece James is always cropped, but like they have options. But I always look at that Chelsea team and I go, where did that money go? Like, it's sort of like, it's borderline impressive how you can spend so much and receive so little. The only good one that they obviously made was the one that they spent the most on. It's Caicedo, who just makes a difference every game. He's like again, consistent 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, as always, when he was with us. But yeah, and like you said, they just an utter breakdown when it comes to not having that experience or that sort of gamesmanship to go through that game. You can see that they're very nippy, right? When it comes, and when we talk about the refereeing side of things as well, like they leave a foot in just enough for it not to be an accumulation of fouls or anything like that. But like they do let you know you're there, and they've got a little bit of that nastiness to them, but not enough yet, where it actually makes a difference.
And they have that with all the emotion that comes with it too, right?
Yeah.
Like they haven't got to the stage where the greatest of all time for Albion to do it, Joel Veltman, has the emotional like stability of just like a rock, and yet also has all of that like nippy shithead behavior that you want in a player. And I think you're right. Like players like Thiago Silva had that. And you need that in order to become a successful football team at any level, I think. When you look at us in the Championship, like I think that was part of the reason we struggled to go up for those couple of years. You bring in then players like Shane Duffy, Dale Stevens and Kyle in the middle start getting going, and like you start developing that group, and Glenn Murray leading from the front, being who he was, it all just clicked into place. But there was a couple of years there where you just didn't have enough of that. And at the top level, I agree with you. It's exactly the same. And you just can't roll out with that back line and just be like, yeah, but we won the Club World Cup like this. It's like, yeah, but like no one, like we cannot emphasize enough how no one cares. No one cares about your stupid gold badge, bud.
You can make your badge bigger. You can put it wherever on the shirt you want. We still don't care. So yeah, it's fine.
And the American audience that went to watch it have already forgotten. Like they don't care either. Like no one cares. They're too busy wanting to watch Messi play because that's actually like a real attraction. But on 77 minutes, the substitutes that were made in order to change the game, the first two with Welbeck coming on for Mitoma and Gruder for Baleba, and then De Kuyper and Seamas shortly after the goal for Gomez and Ruta, made a massive difference. Yankuba Minte moved out left when Mitoma was brought off, Gruder on the right. And it seems that the kid is ambidextrous beyond belief, isn't he? Because that cross with his left foot was crazy. And yet I constantly see him belting down the right and smacking the ball in with his right foot. And then the cross yesterday for the goal, for the first goal, it was just the most comfortable left-footed cross I've ever seen. And of course, we actually finally have a number 9 on the pitch, and he pops it into the back of the net. And Welbeck's really poor start to the season, to be honest, is suddenly off and running at 1-1. They made a couple of more subs at that point. It was definitely like a shut up shop at that point. Badiashile and Lavia come on for Neto and Hato. Not sure, but I thought he was quite good yesterday. And then De Kuyper and Seamas come on from Gomez and Ruta. And then we had the flashpoint that really kind of dictated that final 10 minutes, I feel. If that hadn't happened, I just wonder if we would have even got a goal. Like it was all very strange. But the ball's whipped in, and it's Minte at the back post going in for a header at head level, and it was probably booted in the face by Gusto. I don't for 1 minute, and I'm sure you totally agree on this one. Don't want to speak for you, but there was no intent from Gusto.
No,
I don't think there was.
He didn't see him. Like that's not the point. But
it's definitely a foul. And obviously Minte goes down and there's a little bit of argy-bargy, and it looks like Van Hecke grabs Caicedo by the arm to say something to him. And Caicedo, as Doom in the chat says he punched him. I've seen a good few angles of this from the crowd, and I don't know if I would say punched, but he definitely was in red card territory in terms of the action he took. Yeah. Van Hecke goes down, as a good pro should, to hopefully get that looked at. But VAR were too busy deciding that they couldn't definitely conclude that Minte was even booted in the face. I guess the footprint on his head wasn't clear enough. What did you make of that entire sequence of events? Because for me, it's possibly the most insanely stupid thing I've seen from a VAR in a long time, to say they couldn't decide whether there was contact or not, because it felt like from every angle except for the one behind Gusto, simply due to depth perception, like every other angle showed there was clear contact on Minte's head. Again, none of it was intentional, but it was definitely there. How on earth did they come to this decision? And what did you make of that scrap afterwards, and kind of the way it all just kind of went to shit from there? And the fact that I believe it was only Van Hecke and Dunk, that Van Hecke, Dunk, and Badiashile got booked for it. No action at all on Moises Caicedo.
Didn't he? I think I was just looking at it.
Not Sanchez, on mine, but
on mine it does. But no,
okay.
But like, so the VAR thing is weird, right? I don't want to put my tin hat on again, but like, it's just around the referees bottling a decision in the 90th minute, right? And not doing that. It's something, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think anyone that has seen it on social media or has watched the highlights as well, I don't know how any person can come away from that and go, he didn't kick him in the head. Because that's ultimately what they've suggested, right? Is that like, if he has kicked him in the head, it's a foul. What they're saying is that he hasn't touched him, which is obviously objectively false. So
it's a yellow, right, for simulation. Surely we've seen a couple of those this weekend.
In which, so if it's not simulation, if he hasn't kicked him, he's fell over rolling around, clutching his head. In which case, he should get a yellow card. And if that was the case, which it isn't, but if that was the case, then yes, it should be a yellow card for Minte, and you'd be like, fair enough, right? I think you can be self-aware enough to admit those when they do come along, right? We've seen enough of it from everyone. It's just part of the game. But it's just the VAR team bottling it around. We can't give that in the 90th minute against Chelsea. We can't make that result like altering decision. And that's ultimately how I see it, is that they've just bottled it. Then the argy-bargy on top of it, with Badiashile and Dunk going nose to nose, with Caicedo doing his bit, like it added that little spice on top of it that you needed to go, okay, we're just going to go and win this game now, right? Like we're just going to go and just absolutely go for it. So in that way, again, it's another game management piece that Chelsea haven't really reacted to, right? It's like, don't give them any more incentive to go and hammer us, please. Like, don't go and nose to nose with the captain and go and get yourself a yellow card. Like, if you are Chelsea in that position where you're trying to maintain a lead, you don't want to give them any other reason to go at you. So that was something that I think the team probably needed, where you go, okay, like now we're just going to go for it, and we're just going to say, screw it, like let's just go for it, because clearly we're not going to get a penalty, because the most obvious penalty has just been declined. So now you really have to go for it. So a bit wild. Like the Caicedo thing is weird too. That's just out of character. Must be something in the water up there. But yeah, it ultimately gave us the drive that we needed to go and win the game, which is fine. Like I appreciate that.
We'd have missed that pen anyway, wouldn't we? And then probably conceded immediately on the counter. So it's a blessing in disguise. Yeah. I mean, that reffing display, I don't think I've ever seen opposition fans say that the ref was so bad due to decisions they didn't get against them. But like on social media yesterday, I saw so many Chelsea fans saying, how on earth has Hooper given that decision? Like, how have we got away with that? How have we got away with that? Because he didn't give anything for that red card. originally, there was nothing given. He just said, nah, nothing in it, play on. He didn't give the penalty, which is why they didn't overturn. He didn't do anything. It was crazy how poor he was yesterday.
And the Veltman yellow card drove me insane, by the way. Like, just immediately. I was like,
on 9 minutes as well.
There's no way you've given that. Like, just the repercussions of a yellow card that early with an aging right back against Pedro Neto, who is quick and very tricky. I was just like, that's almost like, you know what you're doing there. Like, why did you just give him a yellow card there? Because he didn't even do anything.
Yeah, it felt that way. But thankfully for us, the obvious goal scorer in all this, Maxim de Kuyper, is the one who puts us 2-1 up. It was a great crossover from Ayari to the back post. Matt Sweefer just kind of heads the ball back across goal and perfect. Smart. That's what you want, right? And there was about 3 of them lined up, I think, to take advantage, but it was de Kuyper who does so. I think myself and most of the TV cameras thought it was Simas originally, because he was so excited about the goal going in that everyone was like, "Oh, it must have been him."
He was celebrating like it was his own goal. So like
he was so happy. But when you look back, it was a superb finish from de Kuyper. Like, it was super cool and calm and collected. And I did say early on, like, he's taller than I thought he was at fullback, and it showed there because he got his head to that really well and finished it really well. And once again, just sub to sub, right? Like, we were on over to de Kuyper. And obviously Welbeck had already scored, and he's about to score his second to finish off the game. But at 2-1, it felt like they were just done. Like, Chelsea were dead and buried at that point. And I think there was 10 minutes of added time. But in the ninth of those, in the ninth of those, Gruder played in Welbeck after Chelsea inexplicably decided to play out from the back with 10 men when we had like 7 offensive players on the pitch, and inevitably felt the press and capitulated. I cannot believe, you talk about naivety, right? Like, there it is right there. That was incredibly stupid. And we won the ball back. And Welbeck, obviously in the box, just kind of ambles his way through the defense. There was like a bit of like, just very untidy, but the finish wasn't. He knew exactly what he was doing, put it into the roof of the net. And 3-1 Albion. What a change in fortune that was from the first 50 minutes. And what a massive win that is for us as well, because we were 10 points worse off, right? Like, we'd won all these games last season. This one we hadn't. So here's a nice points differentiator, right? We're back to -7, which is okay. We can keep pushing.
Perfect.
But it was a big win. I think we needed that massively. And I just thought it was an incredible showing of like drive, desire, spirit. Like, we went out there, and Hurt sort of talks a lot about energy. Like, we sure as shit showed a lot of it in those last 40 minutes. I thought we were excellent.
Yeah, and how many times have we sat here and they go down to 10 men and you huff and you puff, but ultimately you don't get what you deserve, right? Like, and that's the difference here, is that you go, okay, because we've seen that show enough times as Brighton fans to know, like, okay, like losing to like 9-man Warsaw with Dean, like,
took the words out of my mouth. I was like, yep.
So like, there's those sort of things, and it's like, okay, so it's a nice change, and again, like we said, to credit to Hersler as well, like that sort of being able to read the game and go, I know exactly what this needs, and I know who's going to deliver it. Like, it's just sort of sub to sub. Those goals all came from those substitutions. Whether that's an injection of energy, like you said, or whether that's knowing the right person to change this game. So that's a difference, and I think to our rather slower start to the season as well, I think we needed that. I think we pointed out before the season started how difficult this run could be. And then we've ended up taking our only 2 wins against Man City and Chelsea. So it's a tough one, I think, in the chat as well. 7 points from 3 big teams. It's I still wonder how good or how bad this team could be in a Premier League that is shaping up to be the wildest one that we've seen in a long time. I think with how well Sunderland, Leeds, and even Burnley were out of the relegation zone until Villa picked up 3 points. Like, it's a really tough league this year. You've got some teams that are really struggling, and you've got some teams that are absolutely flying. So picking up some points here was needed. I think it makes the conversation a lot easier. If we sat here and we lost 1 or 2-0 yesterday, I think this probably would have been half the time, and it would have been us just yelling at each other. So, it's those sort of things, and that's just football for you, right? Like, those things can change. Like, ultimately, if we didn't let the 2-0 lead at Tottenham slip either, then like we could be sitting here on 10 points and we could be well up in it. So we'll see where we are. I think we'll look at it over Christmas and go, okay, I still don't know. And I think I said this last year as well. I don't know how good this team is. Like, I just don't. Like, sometimes we look like absolute world beaters, and we really put people to the sword, and we look like a European challenging team. But then there are other times where I think we could be in the bottom 3 and I wouldn't contest it. So like there's that sort of consistency that I think we're missing.
Yeah, agreed. The league looks wild this year. I feel like you would say that that Liverpool were the obvious front runners until yesterday, but anyone who's watched Liverpool at any point this season would say they've been jammy as hell to have the points they have already. They have relied on a couple of very like the winner against Burnley to win 1-0 was a pure lucky jammy thing. The 1-0 against Arsenal was really ugly football. Obviously they got the 2-1 win against Everton as well. Like, they're all very closely run games where they could have turned on a dime as well, right? And then obviously they were beaten by Palace yesterday 2-1. Really, it feels like the only team I can look at in this entire Premier League and say that they're going to struggle or win lots of games or whatever is our next opponent's Wolves, who it feels like they have been doing this dance for a few years now.
Yeah.
And you have those teams, don't you, in the Premier League that do this for a little bit, where they will flirt with relegation for 3 or 4 years. West Brom, I recall, were one that did it for a long time. Burnley as well, in fact, before they went down and came back up. Felt like they were flirting with relegation for a while. But this Wolves team look very much of the mold where I would be incredibly surprised if they stayed up this year, even 6 games in. 0 wins, 1 draw, 5 losses, 4 goals, 13 conceded. Just a solitary point that they got a well-earned one against Spurs. Don't get me wrong. They had to have Paulinho score an absolute beast for the 93rd minute, I think. But in terms of our start, it's been very difficult. This is going to be a much better kind of measure of what this team is about, don't you think?
Yeah, I think being able to going to Wolves as well is probably, I'd say, arguably easier for us than it is having them at home, because I just think we'll be able to play our game a little bit more. But yeah, it'll be a good test. This is, like you said, this is a team that you expect to be bottom 3 by the end of the season. So it's like, okay, again, take out that yardstick. Like, what are we, right? And how can we go and win this game? And how can we just deal with this? They did get a point against Tottenham. They were unlucky not to get all 3, right? Like, this is the strength of this league right now, like, especially with the 3 teams that came up and how they're playing is important. So I do expect us to go there and give a really good showing and like try everything to get those 3 points. Obviously, it's just going to be a tough one. Like, they do have good players in that team. That's the problem. Is that, like, they do have Sam Johnson in goal, which is like questionable, right? But like they do have good players that can make a difference. They brought in Arias, like, to play on that right wing. They've still got Strand Larson. They've still got Hwang Hee-chan in there. Like, they do have good players. So like that is going to be an issue. So we'll see. I think obviously it'll be an easier game, hopefully, than Chelsea would have been without the red card. So we'll see what we can do. But yeah, this league is weird, man, this year. So who knows?
And it's right before we get another big break as well, right? Like, we obviously then have the second international break. How do you feel about the change for next year? and going into just one long September break and missing the October one altogether. They're having like a 3-week international break, don't they? 2 full weeks of international football. I prefer it. Good.
Yeah. It's just if you like, it just feels like you're just swapping. Like especially at this time of the year where you're like gearing up for the World Cup next year, it's almost like one Prem game and then they get 2 weeks and then one Prem game. Like you've got people that are traveling to Japan, Gambia, like and sort of just traveling all over the place, asking them to do it like twice a month and play Premier League football. Like it just feels like a lot. Like just get it all done. Like and personally for those people as well, like I get to go home for 2 weeks. Like and play some football as well. Like that's great. Like thank you for giving me an extended period of time with the people that I love. Like it's a no-brainer. So yeah, I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, it's I mean, even just go one further, just stick it at the end of August and have the Premier League start in September.
Yeah.
Like that's fine by me. Like have it be part of their preseason. I don't know. Like it just seems so stupid.
It is. It's only because it's a World Cup year, right? Like typically you'd be playing boring Nations League games where people decline to be called up, and that's an issue in of itself. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. The World Cup will be interesting anyway. Not to go off on a tangent, but yeah, that's going to be a strange one as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that closer to the time. We don't want anyone getting travel banned for saying the wrong thing. So obviously. Great week. Who was your man of the match for Chelsea? I'm not even going to ask about Barnsley because I assume everyone's just going to say Diego Gomez.
Oh yeah, you'd be cracking the head. I think Minte. I think he was so good again. I think we were saying as the game was going on, like he always has these 2 preseasons now, 2 amazing preseasons, and then he kind of loses it a little bit. This guy is like our number 1 threat right now, by a distance. Just in what he's been able to do and how quick he is and how tricky it is. I'm going to lose a lot of people listening to this right now. Cucurella is a good fullback. Like he just is. He's a piece of crap, but like he is a good fullback. So being able to have him on strings and to be double teamed and still provide. To your left foot point, I realized that he was taking corners from the right hand side and using his left foot. So like he was always in swinging it, like regardless of which corner he was taking it from. So like having someone like that who is able to do it on both sides, be a consistent threat. He made the 3rd goal by pressing, and the 100th minute, he's still running around like crazy, pressing and creates a 3rd goal, or at least the threat of that 3rd goal. So I'm surprised at how good he's already become. You could see the potential, and all he wants is that consistency. If he can continue doing this on a weekly basis, this is one hell of a winger that's going to get goals and assists.
Yeah, 21 years old. Not saying it like it was a PSR deal that I know a lot of people were like, well, who even is this guy? How is he worth that much money? Like we're just bailing Newcastle out. I saw some real hot takes on him at the beginning of that time. Yeah, he's, as Sipper said in the chat as well, like he's skinning fullbacks on the left and the right in the 100th minute. Like you say, like he'll just go out left and create a goal there. Dignity in the chat talking about Dunk showing good character. I do want to call out Van Hecker as well. Minte is my man of the match as well.
Yeah.
But for me, I thought he was really poor last week, and I know Adam felt the same. And this week, I thought he right back on it, much better, really good. And I think really, because I do that for analysis stuff now as well, and I just was going through it the other day, and I was just like, the one player that I noticed more in my ratings that I am boosting up compared to usual is the improvement. And I don't know whether it's just the jostling of backroom staff or whether this is better for him or what it is. But Bart Verbruggen has came on leaps and bounds this year. He looks a much more reliable goalkeeper than he did last year for me. And obviously he's not winning the man of the match, but at 23, I don't know. Is it the guy that's been brought in from Leicester, right? Like his kind of compatriot that's changed it, or just the refresh in general, or just a bit of experience in life? But I think he's been much better this year. There's not really anything that you can point to in our opening 6 like there was last year where you go like,
that was clearly an error.
Yeah.
you had him up against Robert Sanchez yesterday, and I think that's almost like that stark contrast where it was like, okay, so there was some bits. Obviously, Sanchez tries to play out from the back, bless him, but like just sometimes he's just off, and he's just not that good of a passer that he probably thinks he is, and like that's a Chelsea problem. It's no longer our problem, right? But it was something that we saw as well, where it was like misplaced passes as the goalkeeper genuinely leads to a pretty high chance. Whilst like Verbruggen yesterday was just spraying it about, and I am in total ease at any sort of pass that he's making, right? Just because I know that he's able to handle it. You compare that to last year where we were singling him out for those unforced errors. We haven't seen any so far. I appreciate we're only 6 games in, right? But like at the moment, he feels a lot more comfortable, and I agree with you. I'm still very happy that he is that he's our number one, and I hope it continues. I hope he doesn't leave. Really, I really don't.
I don't think he will. I really don't. I think he'll stay at least for a little while.
He's number one for Netherlands, right? Like, I think the only thing stopping him from moving on is European football. Like, if you're able to get European football, like a lot of your issues in keeping players goes away, because a lot of these people are getting international exposure, which is a key part in their own personal aspirations. So like, as long as they're getting international football, and if you give them European football, I really don't see why people would move other than shiny, lots of money.
Yeah, true. That always is a game changer when you're offered to quadruple your wages on a 17-year contract. But we can just hope and pray that doesn't happen anytime soon. I guess I've just got a couple of like around the grounds questions for you. How long does Amorim have left at Manchester United? Until he comes to Brighton, like until us? Do you think he makes it to Brighton? Was what I wanted to ask. 25th of October, I think it is. Does he make it that far, or do you think he's gone before the international break?
I don't think he's gone. I think he stays.
Okay. They've got Sunderland next week at Old Trafford. They lose to Sunderland at Old Trafford. Do you think he stays? Right before the break. If
it's Sunderland and right before the break,
a Dingra hat-trick.
That's really tough. If they lose and then you have to take a break, like that's where you go, okay. There's not a lot out there right now when it comes to managerial appointments. It's
at home to Sunderland when you have Liverpool, Brighton, Forest, Spurs next. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who else you would bring in. Like I off the top of my head, like I just can't. And that's probably the key factor there, where it's sort of like if there was someone waiting in the wings, right? Like, and you put even Ange got taken immediately. Nuno got taken immediately. Like, there's really not a lot out there right now where it's sort of like you've got these good managers waiting for the right opportunity. There just isn't. So unless they've got someone new and inexperienced they want to take a gamble on, I can't see him doing it. It's hilarious, but like but you know, they're kind of doomed anyway. Like, so sort of like we're already really bad. Like, how much worse can this get? I don't think they're bad enough to be one of the 3 worst teams in this league. I think they've got enough about them, but like they do have to be resigned to the fact that they could finish bottom half again if they don't change anything. And then you again go for a full refresh next year when they've done it for like 4 or 5 years in a row.
I think they definitely finish bottom half. Only the bottom 3 have conceded more than them. And it's not going to change because Amorim won't change.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with you on this, on the personnel side. Like, what high profile manager in their right mind takes this job anymore? Really though, like it's such a poison chalice now that the general sentiment of like, yeah, but the prestige and the money you'll get is worth it. Like, I think it's actually now surpassed that the other way. Where we're in this weird uncharted territory where it doesn't matter how much money they'll offer you, the club is so toxically ran that high-profile managers aren't going to risk their career there. No. Because Chelsea throughout the Roman years, right, and now even with Blueco, for all of the toxic culture they have, especially in their managerial level, I mean, Enzo's lost 2 games in a row. He's already under pressure again from the fans. Like, it's ridiculous. But you would have a line of high-profile managers happy to go to Chelsea because it's like there is still a winning mentality there. United, I just can't believe this is the same team of my childhood that terrorized England for years and for decades.
Like,
and it's just embarrassing.
A dynasty on English football. And you can have teams like this, and you can put Spurs maybe in that same bracket as well. They finished 17th, right? They made a change, they made good changes, and they got Europe, right? And I think that was the key breaking point for Man United last year, was
mega
not winning that final. Because and I always thought, I looked at that game and I was like, whoever loses this game is in so much trouble. Like, because not only do you have no Europe and no pull for any of these players, you then have to rely on money in getting these players in. So you go to Matthias Cunha, you go to Brian Mbeumo, and you go, we'll pay you a lot of money, and we used to be good 25 years ago. And that's all you've got. Like, that's your only pull here, because you can't say that we've got great owners because they only came in a year ago and cut loads of costs. You can't say that we've got a good manager because we finished 16th. And you just sort of struggle, and the longer that goes on, the harder that struggle is, because you can come and say to Baleba, yeah, we'll pay 100 mil and we'll pay you loads of money a year, and you get to be with your compatriots in Onana and Mbeumo. Like, that's probably the only way that you could get someone to come, right? Is that, like, okay, you get to hang out with your friends and your compatriots, and you're obviously assured to play because we're shit. So, but it is a struggle, and I think that's where it's sort of like, you then get to that point where it's like, well, who will we place Amorim with? Like, there's no point, because like whoever we bring in won't be as good as this guy, because he has a track record, and he is respected as much as you don't think he is. So,
it's funny, because I think if Amorim came to Brighton, I think he'd be really good.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's very much a Potter type manager, where he needed to start in a lower level team, because he came over and just assumed he could just plug Lisbon's tactics into one of the biggest teams on the planet. Like, because reputation wise, they still are, right? Like, everyone knows who Man U are. But if he came over, if Herzl was like, bugger it, I'm going back to Bayern Munich next year, because there was talk of that, right, at one point, and Amorim comes to us instead, I think we do really well.
Excited.
I think we'd do really well. I think the players we got would suit his system already. And I think that he would get the time and the patience and the support from everyone that would probably lead to him being eventually poached by someone like United or Arsenal for lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
But he's going to have to essentially rebuild his whole bloody career after this, which is crazy.
But and therein lies that problem of Man United right now, is that the only thing they need is patience and time to rebuild. You saw Liverpool go through it. You saw Chelsea going through it the last couple of years as well, where they were a really young team, but they needed that time to bed and change things. Like, change doesn't happen overnight, and they expect it. It's just that, again, resting on those laurels of 20 years ago, where it was like, well, we had Ronaldo, we had Rooney, we had Ferguson. Like, we're used to perpetually winning. And it's all like, no, you need to rebuild. Like, and I hate bringing franchise US teams into it, but like, it happens here all the time, where it's sort of like, you have to go through a rebuild, right? Like, sell off, like, restart, and take a couple of years. But you can't do that if you're Man United. You have to win. And you keep making short-sighted decisions to lay people off and to move people and change things without looking at the bigger picture. The longer they do that, the closer they'll be to relegation, ultimately.
Which is hilarious to even utter the words Manchester United.
But we're on a Brighton podcast, and we can see it clear as day. And that's what's the most amazing thing about it, is that, like, no one sees it. Like, how can you not realize what's going on?
Yeah, it feels like the term sleepwalking into trouble is like so true in that respect.
With a $1 billion corporation.
Yeah. Talking of managers that kind of went too high too fast, Graham Potter lost his job yesterday as well at West Ham. A 24% win percentage in the end for him at West Ham. That is, I mean,
even
really
for West
bad.
Ham.
Even for West Ham, they have done a great job. They have kind of stumbled upon Nuno where I think he will definitely do enough to keep them up and probably put them into the mid-table area, depending on how toxic that backroom gets, right? Because that's where we saw the Forest form drop off at the start of this year because of Marinakis being a psychopath. And I think West Ham are full of them. So despite how much I think Nuno is a great manager, it may not end up working out as well as you'd think solely because of that. But I think he's going to keep them safe at least this year. But just for reference, Potter ended on a 24.0%, so bang on 24% win ratio for West Ham. Sami Hyypiä had 23.1%. That's how bad. Like, he is in the Hall of Fame of dog shit managers alongside
trying
Sami.
to give me PTSD mentioning Sami Hyypiä.
0.9% difference between their records. That's how bad he was at West Ham. I just can't believe he's picked such a toxic club after going to Chelsea, which we already knew was a toxic club.
Yeah, he's a process manager, right? Like, you really didn't see the fruits of Graham Potter's labor until a year and a half in, 2 years in, and you start to see it. Trying to go to West Ham, trying to go to Chelsea, trying to instill some sort of process was never going to work. So, like, you know, you never want to see someone lose their job, right? Like, we can make fun of it all you want, but like, ultimately that was a bad choice. Everyone made a collective error there in getting Graham Potter in. Graham Potter choosing West Ham was just a big mistake regardless, and everyone knew that. But like, he needs to drop down and get a team like where he did with Swansea that he was going to do before we grabbed him. Like, he needs to take that step down, maybe move abroad, get away from all of the press and stuff, because like Twitter's having a field day with him at the moment. So like, and if you haven't seen that, I'm not making light of someone losing their job, but they are very funny.
I mean, if you're a Lincoln City fan, right? I was saying this to my friends last night. If you're a Lincoln City fan and you lose your manager and you go, we've appointed Graham Potter, even as a Lincoln fan, you're like, oh, fuck, here we go. Like, he's using us to rebuild and he was dog shit. Like, he's going to take us like, I wouldn't feel hyped about getting Graham Potter. Like, in League One, I would feel worried more than excited. Like, his name has been tarnished so hard across
by jumping around. Yes.
Yeah. I think you're totally right. Like, he has to go abroad and rebuild there. And there are plenty of teams that would want him and would be happy to give him that process, right? Those Dutch teams, the Belgian teams that are probably mostly safe from relegation, that have dreams of challenging the establishment and are like, this is the guy who we can give a 4-year project to. And by the 4th year, we want to see if we can challenge PSD or Bruges or USG right now. Like, that's the dream. And he can go in and I think he can probably do it. And then, you know, someone like Spurs come calling for him in 5 years' time and he gets another go at it and he might do really well. But I just cannot believe the series of bad decisions that man has made after choosing to leave us. And while his bank balance has no regrets, I'm sure the human inside him has been kept awake once or twice at night by not saying no to Chelsea at that point. In the same way, I feel that once Baleba gets over this mentality and physical rehabilitation that he's going through, there will be nights where he wakes up smiling, going, thank fuck I didn't go to United this year because I've really dodged. Like, look at what could have been. Like, my career could have gone downhill from here. The Albion have given me a chance. They've been so understanding. I've been able to get back into what I used to be. Happy days. And then he gets a move to Arsenal next year and like dominates the midfield, right? So,
oh my god, him in that midfield would be a joke. But yeah, so it's a funny one. It's a weird Premier League year. I think it just will be, and I think there's just not enough good managers out there. There was like a time 1 or 2 years ago where you go, if you sacked your manager, you had like the pick of a plethora of different managers that would just do the good job.
Of Brexit managers. Just your Dyches, Allardyce, Pulis, Pardew.
I only just saw that Uber Eats advert the other day, like with them. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
I was like, what's going on?
Lean in, like, talk about being aware, self-aware. Yeah.
But there you go. There was one Brighton thing before I finished. I didn't want to end on a bad one, but we talked about I think you brought it up yesterday, Matoma, and where he's at, because we talked about Baleba and his what's the opposite of a purple patch, a bad spot.
Just a bad match.
Yeah. So like Matoma's obviously going through it as well here. Like he's obviously come out public to the press as well, which is never good, right? I think for someone as reserved and as respectful as he is and the Japanese culture is, I don't think that's a good look at all. And I hope it's just a flash in the pan. But like he hasn't been himself. He's obviously got the World Cup coming up as well, so he wants to do well. There's no doubt about that. But like you do have Tom Watson's there as head of the Tommy Watson fan club, right? Like you do have someone there that has now played in both of the cup runs and has delivered significantly.
There's no way that he's not feeling the fact that Tommy Watson is heir apparent already.
Yeah. But like I guess my question is, when is that going to happen? Right? Because if you continue to see Matoma struggle, and a lot of that comes down to the way that he's been marked, right? They know that he's such a threat that like one of their key defensive duties is to stop that man, like help him be quiet. Yeah. The only problem is if you do that, Minte runs ragged and you just...
That's what we're seeing, right? Like we're seeing Minte one-on-one all the time.
So that's where I guess I might be a little bit harsh to Matoma, because it's almost like he's the foil for Minte being that good. And I think the other way around as well, if Minte gets double marked and Minte's having a really tough time, then Matoma gets to run a little bit free. So like, I know some people are worried about Matoma's form and stuff. I don't think I'm as worried as most people, but like when does Tom Watson get a chance? Like, and I think if he does play against Arsenal, I think he'll do well, but like, we do have options in those wide spaces, and we're just not seeing the same Matoma that maybe we did last year.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair question to ask. I, similarly to you, I'm not too worried solely because of how difficult this start has been.
Yeah.
If you see him roll out against Wolves this weekend, who he loves to play against, and you see him really struggle at home to Newcastle, who are, a team that we quite like playing as well. Away at United, as long as Amorim is still there, right? But you see these games, Wolves, Newcastle, Manchester United, Leeds, Palace, Brentford, Forest, like all these teams. We're now suddenly walking into a lineup of games where we can get results at all of these. And these are the games where if we're sat here at game 12 and I feel one of us feels like it's necessary to bring that up again at the end of the podcast, we're in a bit of trouble then.
Yeah.
Because these are the ones where I expect to see a turnaround where you go like, oh, there he is. Like he's had a rough start. He had a bad injury last year, right? Like with back and stuff, and he's got up to speed, and now he's playing crapper teams and he's just ripping people apart, and he's found his groove. And we're now playing Liverpool away on the 13th of December, and he's man of the match, right? Like that's what you want to see.
Everyone's worried because and he's probably my favorite player to watch, and has been for a long time, right? And I think you brought it up as well. Like, will go down as one of the best players to have worn the shirt to date, and there's no question about it. Like, I just want that man to do what he's capable of, because like everybody likes that. Like even people that we play against go, yeah, we like that. Like he's a type of player that just everyone enjoys watching. I want him to be at that best again, because when he does, he's a joy.
Yep, I totally agree. All right, let's wrap. We will be back next week for Wolves. We play at 2:00 on Sunday, I believe. Is that right? Or are we the late game? I'm pretty sure we're
let me check. I'm pretty sure we are the Sunday one, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 2, not the 4.
Yeah, Sunday at 2 p.m.
2:00. Yeah. Oh, of course, like 9 a.m. for you. I'll be there, so I don't know whether you guys want to record it full time and then I can do the pod editing afterwards, or whether we want to wait, or whatever we want to do. But we've had a very good record at Wolves over the years, outside of cup competitions where we got beat that one time. and they're terrible. So it does both feel encouraging and also like a scary opportunity for Dr. Brighton to knock on your door and provide you a nice little cure before the international break.
Especially after yesterday too. It'd be like the most Brighton thing to do.
Yeah, it would. All right, so we will be back next week, and then obviously a big long old break until Newcastle in mid-October. So yeah, have a wonderful week, everybody, and stay safe.
Cheers all.